High Stakes Duel 2, Daniel versus Phil. Who's the better player? I think overall they both have their pros and cons. Obviously, Daniel is a much better mixed game player, I would say, even though Phil does have a few bracelets in these different events. He's played a lot more of the high stakes cash version, so I'd have to give him the nod. In huge field tournaments, I guess I'd probably take Phil Hellmuth. Somehow, despite seemingly doing weird things that do not make sense, he does manage to put up good results there. So I guess I'd maybe tip my cap towards Phil. But we're talking about the arena of Heads Up No Limit. I've played both of them. I played Phil in a live heads-up tournament, and I played Daniel Negreanu in our recent challenge. My take that Daniel Negreanu will have a substantial edge here. In fact, a lot of the things that Phil seems to like to do don't make sense at all in any way. And that's not to take away from Daniel. He's come a long way in his heads-up to limit game, but Phil's going to do stuff like limp most his buttons, or maybe not really re-raise pre-flop, or possibly lead, or maybe min-raise, or basically all of the things that you learn in Poker 101, never do this dumb shit. Am I allowed to say that? I hope so. I don't think Phil Hellmuth is disrespected. I think he gets probably more than his fair share of respect. Now look, Phil has won the most World Series of Poker bracelets. He'll be the first one to tell you that. And that's definitely an impressive feat. But he's probably played the most, if not one of the most, of these events ever, and he also played when a lot of the fields were smaller. Now, that's not to say he hasn't done well since they expanded those fields. He's done phenomenal in these bigger field events, and somehow he has this capacity to make a deep run and take down events that you really wouldn't see coming from someone that does seem to lack a lot of the fundamental mechanics that you need to, in my opinion, succeed at high stakes today. But the question is, do you think Phil Hellmuth is disrespected? I would say no. I mean, we look at some of the things he does. He shows up late to tournaments all the time, even when people have bought action of him. He's constantly tweeting about something that he did and name dropping all over the place. It's kind of a hard look. But at the same time, he does have a very long history of succeeding at poker, and I think that the world recognizes that, unfortunately, whether they want to or not. If Daniel Negreanu loses to Phil Hellmuth, how does this affect Negreanu's legacy? I don't think that there is a lot of legacy to be won or lost here. I think that in this match, it's simply one match that they're playing. It's not going to be a ton of hands, so really, it could go either way. Absolutely, Phil Hellmuth could win this. It's not likely, though, but he could win this, in this short format where you're playing live poker. Realistically, anything can happen. However, I do think it would be a bit of a blow for Negreanu. He has really staked his claim into the live arena versus Phil Hellmuth here in this heads-up match, saying that he's going to beat him. I mean, I don't know if he said that, but I think he has, and he probably thinks it. And he probably should beat him. He should beat him. That or white magic comes through. White magic, doing the impossible, doing the illogical, doing the losing, but yet winning. I don't know where I'm going with my answer here, but I have said a lot of words. Hopefully, we have a good response in there somewhere. Cliff notes, it would be another jab to Negreanu's legacy, but not an uppercut, not something that he can't walk away from, with his head held low, quite low, because there's going to be some gloating. Phil's not one of those guys to take a victory with modesty. Is it fair to say that the winner of this matchup determines who's the most iconic player of all time? What the fuck kind of question is that? I mean, how can we say that question? Not going to throw a shout out to your boy, Doug. No, I'm just kidding. Is it fair? No, it's not fair. The reality is, this is a heads-up sit and go with debatably not even the most iconic players ever. I mean, certainly Phil Ivey has to get some kind of consideration. Doyle Brunson, we're going to throw that to the wayside. We're just going to throw everything all in on this one heads-up sit and go. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Why are people interested in watching this particular matchup? Because it is a clash of styles. We've got the old school, come new school with Daniel Negreanu. He came up back in the day. Now he's got some new tricks up his sleeves. He knows what the kids are doing. He's seen the simulations. And he has to merge that together with some of his exploitative play. And then you have Phil Hellmuth, Mr. White Magic himself, doing I guess magic or whatever the hell that entails. It's something you're going to want to see. I wouldn't recommend it at home because it isn't very good, but he's going to do it, and you have to stay tuned. You have to see what will that magic be. Frankly, I'm expecting a lot of small pots and not barreling the river, like every good magician does. Well, other than Antonio, he likes barreling the river a bit too much, but I get it. I've been there myself. Prediction time. Who's gonna win? I'm gonna have to go after having played 25,000 hands against the man Daniel Negreanu. He's got the fundamentals now. He's got the balanced ranges. Frankly, he played quite good in our match. His stats were surprisingly good by the end of it. So I'm gonna have to take Daniel. Also, the thing about Daniel that gives him the edge is he's willing to admit when he's wrong occasionally. Well, at least sometimes. Is there actually a record of that happening? I'm not sure. But the point is he knows that new school poker is going to take down the win. And he's been practicing that style. Phil still thinks he's right. Computers can create whatever they want. Math can show whatever it wants. The record can show. The logic can stand. It can be a solved game. And on his last breaths, Phil Hellmuth will say, what about white magic, though? You got to factor that into your computer equation. Thanks, Phil. And the computers have yet to factor in the white magic. One can only imagine how that would change the simulations. Time will tell there, if it ever does. But the point is, he refuses to embrace the new style of poker that is correct. Not an opinion piece. It's correct. So we have one man trying to play correct, and one man actively trying to not play correctly. Not exactly a tough decision to make.